Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance on hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How excited are we? I cannot believe that we just hit 50K. It seems like just yesterday I was freaking out that we hit 10K and now we're at 50. When I tell y'all, I have been so over the moon, emotional and overwhelmed with you guys. I'm gonna have to make a whole, I know y'all are like, just make the video, but I have to pour my heart out to you in another video about a few things. But until then, I just want to tell y'all, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Truly, honestly, it means the world to me. Now with all the new little babies that have come in tons of questions. So I thought I would just hop in here today, clarify a few things for you guys, answer them, and yeah, so let's get into it. The number one question I believe that I've gotten is something around about the way of why I didn't live with my grandmother, why my grandmother didn't just raise me, okay? This is a hard one for me to answer because I want to answer it truthfully, but I don't want to be disrespectful to my grandmother because I love her. Let me tell y'all something. I will do anything for my grandmother. I will do anything for her, and I will take care of her and protect her until my last breath, okay? But I also do want to say, because I promise to always keep it real with y'all, that she is not a perfect person. None of us are. Nobody makes all the right decisions. Your moms don't, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, even though you may think that they're the most amazing person in the world. And they may be the most amazing grandma, papa, or mom, or dad, or whatever, but they're humans, right? And people make different decisions. And I will say that she did have me at some points. I have lived with her, different points of my childhood and all that, but looking back, me as an adult, my personal opinion, she didn't make all the right decisions. Now, with that being said, she doesn't owe it to me to take care of me. I'm not her daughter, okay? Even though I would do that for my kids, I'd do anything for my kids. My kids can live with me until they're 80 years old as long as they're doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't ever have to move out. That's just how I am. My son is getting ready to go to college, and I've already sat down and talked to him and let him know that I want you to chase your dreams, but you don't ever have to worry about having a roof over your head. You don't ever have to worry about what you're going to eat, okay? Or if you're going to have a ride somewhere. Until the day he takes his last breath, he will have a support system. And that's just how I roll as a mom. That's just how I roll. Now not everybody's like that. Not everybody's like that. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that everybody has their own path and their own ways. Like I said, she did have me at some points. And I love my grandma. She is the most stable person as far as my blood-wise goes that I've had consistently in my life this whole time. But at the same time, she has her own life, you know? And she has lived and is living her own life, okay? Grandma is a rolling stone. Grandma rides motorcycles and parties like no other, okay? Grandma gets down, okay? And she has her own life. So I'm just going to leave it at that. What do you do for a living? What did you go to college for? I need some ideas on new careers I can do as I'm a felon in my 30s. I'm glad that you asked me this. I'm going to tell you, whenever I got out of prison, it was very hard finding a job. My first job was Wendy's. I'm going to tell y'all all that in my story time about when I got out of prison. It's coming soon. It's coming so soon. But we'll just start off with the short answer is I went to college to be a social worker. That's what I wanted to do back then. I wanted to be a social worker. I wanted to be the person that went into people's houses and checked the houses, and I wanted to do the hard work. That all changed for me later, and I'll tell y'all about that later. But as far as like what I do for a living now, I do social media, and I also dabble in Amazon FBA. I don't want to spend too long describing what that is. You guys can look it up, but it's a business opportunity that you can do online. Now, the thing about the world in 2019 is the internet is taking over. But your phone and your computer, you are holding the world at your fingertips nowadays. You can be an entrepreneur. You can make your own path, you guys. You don't have to go and work for a corporation. Like, there are so many opportunities that are available now working online that there wasn't 20 years ago. There's just a lot. And my suggestion to you, there are certain jobs you will never be able to do. Like, I could never work for a police department. I could never work for the FBI. I could never do certain types of things. I could never work in a children's hospital. Unfortunately, I found that out the very, very, very hard way. I'm saving that for a story time for y'all too, because that was insane. Like my whole entire life is a giant, insane story time. And if you have something that you really, really want to do, then I always tell people, put in an application and send your resume over and over and over again, and go up there once a week and check. Hi, can I speak with the manager? Hi, get the manager's name, Mr. Tim. Hi, Mr. Tim. I just want to shake your hand and let you know my name is Christina. I'm the one that put in this resume, and I just want you to see my face. I really want to work for your company. He's going to say, okay, he's going to go back into the room. Come back in another week. Hey, Mr. Tim, how are you today? I just want to let you know I was just coming back to check on that. Keep going back, because you want to know what that does. Even if the manager has absolutely no desire in hiring you, even if he tells you they're not hiring, when you keep going back like that, you show that manager that you want this job. You really, 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 really want this job. So you keep doing it, bug the heck out of them. If that's a certain place you want to work and you know you can work at, then and you tell them, just please give me a chance. And I will do a video eventually when I get through my list of videos about how I think you should do interviews as a felon and what I think you should say. But we'll get there later, okay? So y'all know I can ramble, and you can ask me one question. I'll spend a whole entire hour on it, because y'all know Grandma Christina like to. All right, this person says, any reason why you act like a gay man? Well, I don't really know what a gay man acts like. First of all, anybody that leaves me comments saying you act like this or you act like a certain race or anything like that, automatically I can just kind of tell what kind of person that you probably are. But I do know that every gay man that I know is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to take that as a compliment and tell you thank you. How did the whole contact lens thing work? Like, if you got arrested and put into jail and you wear contacts, do they just have someone bring you your glasses? Yes. As far as I know, I've never seen anybody with contact lenses. Maybe there are, but I do remember people being like, I can't see, I'm waiting on my glasses, and I'm pretty sure you have to wear glasses in there. Correct me if I'm wrong down below. I could absolutely be wrong. I don't wear contacts or glasses, but I do remember a couple girls not being able to see and having to wait for somebody to bring their glasses up to the jail, because by the time you get to prison, you already have your stuff. But I do remember women waiting for someone to bring their glasses, not their contact lenses. If you're on contraception in jail or prison, do they let you stay on it? Like if you have an implant coil or something like that? I assume yes. I wasn't on that type of contraception when I went in there, but they're not going to take it. They're not going to surgically remove it. Now, the crappy part about it is like, say you have an IUD and the time has ran out, like the one that I used to have was for 5 years, like it's going to be left up in there unless you're having some problems. You guys don't understand, like it is so hard to get to the doctor in there for anything. It's not like you just get sick. Somebody left me a comment a while back and was like, you know, prisoners get free health care, you know, whatever. And it's like, I wouldn't really consider it health care. It's basically like survival care. What they give you in jail and prison is just enough to keep you alive. It's not like they take you to the doctor when you're sick and you know, whatever. It's hard to get to the doctor. It's hard to get anything in there, any kind of treatment. You have people in there that have full-blown AIDS and that have full-blown cancer that are suffering. I mean, eventually they'll get to go to the doctor or whatever, maybe if they even have enough time, but it's not like you snap your fingers, you're sick or, you know, whatever, and you're being treated. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. Did you ever get to try the Nutriloaf in prison? How was the food? Was it really all expired food, moldy, rotting food? Okay, I've never seen moldy or rotted food, but stale food, yes. The bread, stale, absolutely. Nutriloaf, I don't really know what you're talking about, but mystery meat, Yeah, like when you sit down to your tray and you see that piece of meat and you pick it up and smell it and you can't tell what it is, you can't tell what it came from, or really it's just a bunch of scraps from different animals put together in a loaf and chopped up and maybe thrown some watery gravy over. Yeah, it's gross, you guys. It's absolutely disgusting, and it's flavorless, and it's ugh. But you know what? You have to learn to love it, because it's either that or canteen. And you have to have somebody putting in a lot of money in your account to eat canteen every single meal. So, and I didn't have it like that. So I ate a lot of peanut butter in there. This is a great question. I'm so glad you asked this. Do the inmates typically respect the guards, or is it like fair game? Are attacks on the guards common regardless of how rude or nice they are? Respects the guards? That's a stretch. I wouldn't really say respects the guards. I would say tolerates the guards. You always do have that one or two, maybe three if you're lucky on that compound, that you are happy when you see that guard get there. You're relieved because you know that they're not going to mess with you and pick at you. But for the majority of it, like, the guards are nasty. And if you go through my comments on my other videos, there's usually a good at least 2 or 3 comments from somebody who has either been married to a guard, or who was a guard, or whose parents were a guard. And I have never heard anybody say in the comments section that all the guards are great. You always hear people saying like, yeah, my husband was a guard and he said they are crooked, or I had to quit being a guard because the guards are so crooked and the mistreatment that goes on there. It's not a joke, okay? The guards are, for the majority of them, not all of them, are very, very crooked. And yeah, so respects, that's definitely a stretch. As far as attacks on the guards goes, in the adults, not often. They'll cuss a guard out or something. But in the YO program, in the kids area, oh y'all, the stories about what's going on over there, they've locked them in the closets. They put them in a trash can. They squat up on those guards, okay? Because you think about it, you got a bunch of little 15, 16-year-old little hoodlums from the street that's been gangbanging and stuff on the street. And then you put them in prison all together in one place, and then you have 30 of them, and you have 2 guards, and the guards try to tell them what to do. And they ain't worried about that game time. Baby, them kids will squat up on you. Just think about how you were when you were 15, 16 years old. Just think about that. And then put you in prison and tell, because the thing about prison is you get it in your mind that it doesn't matter how good I am in here, I'm not going home, right? I have to stay. So what's the incentive of being good, right? What's the incentive of, I mean, of course, me as an adult, I had a, you know, I didn't want to lose certain things, but those kids, boy, I'm telling you what, those kids, they squat up on you real quick. Did you get paid for doing work? And if so, how much? There are a couple jobs on the different compounds that do get paid. I never got one of those jobs, but I will tell you that I want to say, like, the library has like a legal assistant in there, and that legal assistant is usually like a lawyer that's gotten put into prison, and then they get a job in there, and then they're able to talk to people, because you always have a good 20 to 30 people that are in prison that are all consumed with getting out and of appealing their case and all that. And it could be because they truly are innocent. And of course, that's what they all say, is that they're innocent. And it could be because there's loopholes in their cases. And so they have usually one person working in the library that is an ex-lawyer or something that, and then I want to say that they get paid like 18 cents an hour. It's nothing. I mean, it's not even, enough to really even buy any canteen. And then they work. So, and then I think there's a couple more jobs where they get paid. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure exactly what they were, but I do remember hearing about it and knowing, oh, okay, that person gets paid for that. But it's nothing. It's nothing to write home about. This person said, Wentworth is so good. It has a major shocker though. Is the show realistic? It seems to have more of a lifelike tone than Orange is the New Black, but is it actually? I've been watching it for you guys, and first of all, I want to let you know that I don't usually watch prison shows. I spent so much time locked up that the last thing that I honestly want to do is sit around and watch people be locked up again. I did kind of watch Orange is the New Black a little bit in the first season because it was so funny, but I couldn't get with it because it was so outlandish and so unrealistic. I really felt like they were painting this picture for the world to see of this like kind of funny and sexy, because the girls get down in there and they make it look like they've got privacy and they can lay on a table, and that don't really happen. But at the same time, it's TV, okay? It's made to be entertaining. It's not a documentary. So with Wentworth, there's a lot more in it that's realistic, and I'm going to do a video on that, comparing that, so y'all stay tuned. So I would say it is a lot more realistic, but it's still off. I mean, it's TV. I mean, even reality TV shows, okay, there's still TV. There's still editing and different placements put in, and, you know, music played into the background to set the tone for the vibe they're trying to push. If it's like a girl saying something a little kooky, then they're going to put that do-do-do-do, you know, music behind to make you thinking she sounds kooky, when really maybe if there was no music back there, you would just hear her talking. So it's still TV, but stay tuned because I'm going to do a video on that for y'all. Ooh, I like this question. When a correctional officer or police officer ends up in prison as well, how are they treated? Now listen, if you were a correctional officer or if you were a prisoner, the first thing that you're going to do when you get into prison is make sure you don't tell anybody. Because if you tell somebody, if the inmates find out, you will have a hit on your head, okay? There's no telling what could happen to you, especially in the male prisons, okay? That would be the first thing. They're gonna get in there, they're not gonna tell anybody their profession or what they did, because you are a walking target if you were a correctional officer or if you were a police officer. Now, if they do find out, they usually put them in the confinement. They put them, you know, isolated solitary confinement. They keep them away from everybody to keep them safe and get them from being hurt. I don't necessarily know if the guards would mistreat them, but I do know that the inmates, they don't take too kindly about police officers getting locked up or correctional officers. Was there a top dog in your prison? If so, what were they like? Yes, there is a top dog or top dogs. I wouldn't necessarily say like Wentworth. I mean, I don't want to give away too many details, but yes, there is usually one or two that kind of run the campus. They're very close with the guards. It's usually people that have been in there 25 years and up or have got a long sentence. You know, one of the women that was at my second prison that I went to, who I would have considered the top dog, her and her wife, she was like 15 when she got locked up, and then she was in her 40s, and she was at the end of her sentence. She had maybe like a year or two left. And so basically you have to understand, when you go in as a kid and you have these long sentences, you grow up around these people, you know, like you're going through your teenage life stages. You're having your 18th birthday in there. You're having your, 21st birthday in there, and they actually see you grow up. They watch you, and some of the guards become like family to them. And she was very close with the guards, and her family had money. So I don't know what all was going on. I mean, she was the one, she walked in and out of the gates, not the front gates, but there's gates within gates. There's like a gate separating a courtyard. There's like a gate separating the library. There's all gates within gates. And she walked in and out of them, and you just knew she was the top dog. She walked around with contraband out in the open, things that nobody are supposed to have, things that they would have thrown me in the hole with. She walked around with it in her hands in front of the guards, and nobody said anything to her. There was a lot more going on there than just her being in there that long. And yeah, so your answer is yes, there is a top dog. Wait, what's the difference between the hole and the normal prison place where you stay? You can't be with other people in the hole? ? So every state and every prison is different from what they consider solitary confinement. Y'all have to understand, our prisons are overrun, okay? I remember being in the county jail, and they had mats and stuff on the floors because they ran out of beds. They don't have enough rooms to put everybody in their single room. So the way it works here is solitary confinement is you can be put into a room with somebody else. Now, that's not always a good thing, okay? I've had multiple experiences where it wasn't a good thing, and I'm going to do more videos on that for you, where I wish that I was in a room by myself, But then again, being by yourself is torture too. So what they call it here is isolated solitary confinement, is when you are in a room just by yourself. They usually reserve those rooms for people that are suicidal and like really, really dangerous to other people. Or they had that one lady in there that I was telling y'all about that did all that stuff, those foster kids, the ones that y'all been looking up online. They had her in isolated solitary confinement until the guards kept abusing her and stuff, and then they transferred her to prison. So that's the difference. Solitary confinement, isolated solitary confinement. They're both absolutely horrible. They're both torture, and it's awful. This person wanted to know, they commented on my solitary confinement video and said, do you know the guard's full name? Would you like to say anything to it? I don't know her full name. And this is the deal with me, my friends. I don't say anybody's name on here really, unless it's just like my family and I'm talking about that. I didn't even say my mom's name and her boyfriend's name, and they did horrible things. I understand that I have a platform, whether it was tiny or big. And like, I didn't even say that one lady's name that, you know, did all that stuff. If y'all look them up, that's on y'all. You know, but I'm not going to say people's names on here, especially when it has to do with something bad, just because people do bad things to me does not mean that I wish bad things on them. Okay. I don't. Does it irritate me? Yes. Does sometimes things really upset me? Yes, but I still don't wish anything bad or any harm on them. And so therefore, no, I don't know her name, but even if I did, I wouldn't say it. What happens when they get too old to do anything for themselves in prison? Nothing. Nobody helps you in there. Nobody. It doesn't matter when you're older. Matter of fact, I had a young lady comment on one of my videos the other day, was telling me about her husband, you know, was a guard or is a guard, and that, you know, he had this older man, a really old man, and everybody kind of pushed him around or whatever she was saying. And her husband, the guard, was nice enough to handcuff him in the front, because even the other guards, it don't matter if you're 85 years old, get your hands behind your back, put these cuffs on. And you're like, ow, they're too tight. And it's like ripping your skin or whatever, especially when you're older and your skin's really frail. Like, they don't care. Like I've told y'all a million times, you may have one or two guards that are nice, like her husband was, but for the majority of it, you get old in there, you're going through those life changes. Think about your grandma and your grandpa, and you know how they, you know, it takes a long time for them to get up, and it takes a second, they gotta straighten their back out, and the knee hurts, or you know how they have to sometimes lean on the shopping cart when they're shopping so they can, you know, kind of take a break off. All those feelings that your grandma and your grandpa have, you being in prison, there's no carts to lean on. There's no handles to get up and out of chairs. I've literally seen elderly people have to rock like this to get up. 1, 2, and then we'll all rush over there and grab into these and help them up. Can't even stand up on their own. I'm telling you, the elderly people in there, man, that's sad. So sad. Some of them have done some terrible things. Like that lady was telling me in that comment on my other video, the one that was putting the handcuffs around the front, she was saying how her husband never looked up anybody's charges. He made it a promise to himself, but he kept feeling bad for this man, and you know, he had to take him to the doctor at some point or whatever, and handcuffed him in the front, and he felt bad for him. He was a sweet old man, and then he looked up his charges and found out that he molested his grandson, and he said he could never look at him the same after that. He didn't mistreat him or anything, but you know, then it was like, okay, wait a minute, this sweet old man I'm doing all this for did this to his own grandson. So you see some elderly people in there, sometimes they got caught up. Sometimes maybe their husband had a business that was, you know, running the house. Their husband was extorting money and they got dragged down with it. It happens all the time. I can't tell you how many times I have seen women get caught up in something because of their man, okay? And I know some of y'all can relate, whether you've been to prison or jail or not. Maybe it's you lost your home, maybe you lost your car, maybe you lost your job. Because getting caught up around a boyfriend, my little babies out here, or being caught up around a man can bring you down. So, yeah, with all that being said, the elderly people, they don't get no kind of special treatment. Nothing. The most I've seen is an elderly person had a walker in there. Going back, do you think there would have been anything anyone could say to change the way you seen things and were behaving? Y'all, I hate to even give y'all this answer because I know that there's going to be people that are going to probably roll their eyes, but I'm going to give you the true tea. I do. I really believe that if I would have had a stable home and love, that I would have been fine, because that's all I wanted. That is all I wanted when I was a kid. I remember I had these friends. There was 3 of them. It's a brother and 2 sisters. And they lived in a neighborhood that I lived in at one point, and their parents were like parents. They were nothing special now as an adult looking back at it. But when I was a kid and like I was in middle school, and I remember seeing them, like the kids got off the bus every day, they went home, they had to do their chores, they ate their snacks, all that stuff. They, went in there, their mom would come home from work and their dad would come home from work, and the mom would cook dinner every night, and they had rules. And I just thought that was the most amazing thing ever. I wanted to be over there all the time. And it wasn't because they were letting us get away with anything. They were parents. But it was just like amazing to me. Like the mom comes home and cooks dinner. Like they have dinner. Wow, like this is so amazing. Like that's all I ever wanted when I was a kid, was a stable home, love, somebody to, encourage me and believe in me and tell me it's okay. I mean, the things that I was reprimanded for and picked on about by the people that were supposed to protect me when I was a kid were disgusting. I didn't know that then because I was a kid. Looking back now as an adult and doing a bunch of soul searching and really looking at my life for what it is, I go, poof, no wonder I ended up with an eating disorder. The things that people were doing to me, are you kidding me? You guys, I'm going to tell you this story later, but there was one time I was living in this house where there was this man that was supposed to protect me, okay? I was living in the house with this man, and he always picked on me, calling me fat. And I'm not talking about it. No, never, ever picking on a child like that is ever okay, ever. Because the things that you're saying to children right now, it really does become their inner voice. They repeat those things over and over and over again in their head, okay? But I'm just going to give you, and I mean, this man picked on me until I cried. And then he laughed in my face about it. He would come in there while I was eating, and he would, call me disgusting and say little Miss Piggy and like call me fat and all this stuff until I cried. I'm a little girl. When I look back at this as an adult, I realized this was sick. Like for a grown man to do this to a little child and then laugh at her and then watch her cry and then go, literally laughing at me. Like I had already been through so much, right? I needed somebody to love me. I needed somebody to tell me like, it's okay. Instead of having me look at my own self as a child in the mirror, like, is that what's wrong with me? Is that what I developed this mentality that, I developed this mentality as a kid that the reason why everybody hated me was because I was ugly and I was fat. And I hated myself. And I'll tell you one time, I'll never forget, I was outside playing kickball in the neighborhood with the boys. That's always how I was. And I heard my name, Christina. He called me. And I was like, oh gosh. And he was at the next door neighbor's house, okay? So this is the type of vibe where they have the garage door open, right? You've got 4 or 5 grown men standing out in the garage watching NASCAR there, and all the guys in the neighborhood are out there drinking beer, right? So I get there, and they're all standing around in like a half circle. All these grown men, we're talking about 40s, 50s, like men, right? And this man that's supposed to be protecting me, I'm supposed to be living with, right? Takes his foot and he pushes a scale out with it. And I'm looking up at him and the other guys, and they're all standing there like they had been talking about this before I got there. And he's like, get on the scale. And I'm looking up at him and I'm like, I don't want to. Like I knew what they were doing. And I'm in 4th grade, okay? I'm a little girl. And I'd already been through so much, y'all. I'd already been through so much. So he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? You too fat? What's wrong? Fat? What's wrong, Miss Piggy? Get on the scale. And I'm like, at this point, I'm starting to tear up, and I'm like, I don't want to. He was like, get on the scale. So I stepped on the scale, and I will never forget, y'all. He was like, damn, 83 pounds? Damn. And all the guys were laughing. And I'm like, that messes a little girl up in their head. Okay, that is disgusting. As a kid, though, I didn't realize that they were the ones that was wrong. I didn't realize as a kid what kind of sick man does that to a little girl or any child anyways. But number two, what about all those other guys that were standing there? Not one of them could say, hey man, that's not funny. I mean, come on. She's a little girl in 4th grade. I mean, come on. Dude, you know what I'm saying? Nobody said anything. They all laughed at me. And, that's just some of the stuff that when I tell y'all that the stuff that happened to me after the abuse and the 17 months in that bathroom was way worse, affected me way worse in my life than even that did. That kind of stuff messed me up. It made me look at myself like I was nothing. I already had people telling me nobody wants you. Nobody loves you. You guys, one time he put his knee in my back and he took the back of a belt and he beat me with it, right, in the room. He had his knee in my back and he was beating me with, nope, he had his foot in my back. I'm lying. He had his foot in my back and he was beating me with the back of the belt, the metal part, okay? And I had whelps that looked like the metal loop on the back of my neck, everywhere on my body, but on the back of my neck. And when I went to school the next day, I guess the teacher saw it and the guidance counselor was called and she asked me what happened and I told her that I got a spanking. Well, they called DCF. Well, it was a big thing. They had to call the lady and call the man and all that. And do you know what happened when I got home? And I cried and I said, please don't do this. I'm going to be in so much trouble when I get home. And I remember that guidance counselor looking at me with tears in her eyes because she felt helpless, because she knew that even though this happened, that she couldn't save me. She couldn't take me home with her. And she knew that she had to report it, but that she was sending me back into that environment. And when I went back into that environment, I remember her telling me, he used to love you until you told on him. He used to love you. So it's and you guys, when you talk to your children, and I'm calling out to the moms out there, don't just think you're speaking words into your children. You're speaking life or death into your children. The things that you say to your children is doing one or the other. It's either making them stronger and more confident, or it's breaking them down. Don't ever call your kid a name. Don't ever call them stupid. Be careful even what you're saying to them. Don't even say, what's wrong with you? Don't even say that to them, because you want to know what happens when your kid goes back into their room? In their mind, they play over, what's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me. Something must be wrong with me. Don't ever be careful what you say to your children, okay? Because you don't want your child to be sitting in a circle somewhere trying to get over the things that you did to them when they were kids. Speak life into your children. If they do something wrong, you let them know, this is not you. You're so much better than this. Why did you make this decision? Because this is not like you. You are kind. You are loving. You are smart. Jaden, why did you make this decision? Because that's not who you are. Speak life into your children. Do not speak death into your children. So when I say, do I think that there is anything anybody could have said or done for me? And for those of y'all that like to make little comments too, saying things like, how are you going to blame foster care? You don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through. Okay? There's a reason why I got to where I was. You don't treat kids like that and then they grow up as decent human beings. Kids mimic what they see. Kids mimic, you are their role model. You as their mom, you as their sister, you as their aunt or their uncle, y'all are all role models in those children's lives. Don't you dare think for a second that when you're fighting with your husband in the kitchen, yelling at each other, calling each other names, and they're in the room, that they're not hearing you and they're not learning how to treat their wife or treat their husband by the way y'all treat each other. I could do a whole series on how I feel from my personal opinion, I'm not an expert, parenting should go, because I have experience. And I don't just have experience with one person. I lived with multiple people and was treated multiple different ways. And I'm going to tell you what, when it comes to my parenting, I take every terrible thing that happened to me, and I will never do that to my children or any other child. My house is always filled with kids. All the kids in the neighborhood are here. And it ain't because Christina lets them get away with everything. It ain't because Christina got rules like pow. I'm a very strict mom, but we have a lot of fun and there's a lot of love in this house. So, with that being said, yes, there's a lot of things that could have been said and done for me, but they weren't. But you know what? God is good and I'm here anyways. And I'm here to tell the tale. And thank you, Jesus, that I am not under a bridge somewhere with a needle in my arm, because I could be. Every statistic, everything on paper says that I should not be here right now doing what I'm doing, talking to y'all right now. Every black and white writing of what I've been through says that I should be somebody else, but I'm not. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason why I'm here and I'm talking to you. Somebody needed to hear this message today. Sorry about that long-winded answer, but when it comes to children and stuff like that, I'm very passionate about it. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for watching this video. I love y'all so much. Please don't forget to like this video. It is a free way that you can help me out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.